Hello again. Um, that sounded ominous. Um, so, right, I've been thinking a little bit about the early days of my sobriety and the earliest sort of tests of whether or not I was gonna be able to, stick to what I was trying to do. I gave up drinking on July the 18th, 2010, and the initial weeks and months were I was quite full of I was quite full of, I suppose you'd almost call it, nervous energy and determination, and I really wanted this, and because I was going to a meeting every single day, that helped in as much as it was never far from my mind, and I was hearing the right things, and I was talking to the right people, and um, yeah, I started on the 12 steps in this time, and so I wasn't left to my own devices. One of the worst things I think any alcoholic in early recovery can do is isolate and be left to their own devices. Um, I think at that stage you're not going to be strong enough to cope with all the things that your alcoholism is going to try and do, which will be a lot. Um, it will be any excuse. It will be any slight little thing goes wrong. It will be there all day as well. I mean, you'll just be thinking, I just want to drink. I just want to drink. I just want to go back to the easy life of going and getting on it because it was easy. Going on the sesh was just, that was easy. Yeah, you pay for it later, but the doing of it was just so easy. So you'll have all that to contend with. You'll be alone. You'll have no support group. You will, if you're anything like my situation, you'll also probably have quite a few people saying, "You're never going to give up drinking, mate. Absolutely no way. There's no way." And there'll also be people who want you to drink. Now, I don't believe they do that out of any kind of ill intent, or because they're mean or nasty people. I just don't think they get it. It's another situation where they just don't understand how you have to stop drinking in order to stay alive, which ultimately is what we're talking about here. Alcoholism will kill you, right? Let's make no bones about it. Alcoholism will kill you. It may take time. It may take a long time, but one way or another, it's going to kill you. So, people don't understand that, and how could they? Really, I mean, it's not on their worldview, if you like. It's not. I don't know if worldview is the right phrase, but it's not in their. It's not in their. Um, you know what, mate? You know what I mean, don't you? So anyway, um, I was going to the meetings every day. I was surrounding myself with the right people. I was hearing the right things, and things were going okay. I mean, don't get me wrong. There were cravings constantly on a daily basis. There were cravings and you know wanting to stop, but wanting to start again. But every time I had those cravings, I said the Serenity Prayer. That was enough. That was simply enough. That few seconds of saying the Serenity Prayer in my head was enough to divert my thoughts away from the craving and onto anything else, really. It could be anything. But, it did the trick. A simple diversion tactic, that's all it was. Um, Now, at the time, my my mother was she was quite late stage in her cancer, um, and by November she was really bad, and by December she had died. It was she died on December the 23rd, in fact, and I suppose that was the first really big test of, you know, of whether or not I was going to just collapse and fail. Um, I have to be honest. I didn't think about it once. Now, that's going to sound really callous. It's going to sound really cold, but it's not. And I'll tell you why it's not. Because my mum hated me drinking. Right? She had seen her father drink to excess all her childhood, and she had, you know, witnessed alcoholism within the family. I'm not going to say who because you know I don't know if any members of my family will end up seeing this, but um, she had witnessed alcoholism within the family her whole life, and now she saw it in her son, and she wanted nothing more than me, you know, for me to give up drinking. So when she passed away, you know, there was, I mean, how better could I honour her at that stage than to say that I was sober? You know, I was sober. It was only for 6 months, but I was sober for the last 6 months of her life, and I held her hand sober as she passed away, and things like that were what stopped me from drinking. For the first time, probably in my life, I felt proud. I felt like I hadn't let her down. So, so that was the first test. Then, you know, I suppose that's quite a big test, isn't it? But, you know, but there are also other things like, you know, like I say, it was Christmas. There were Christmas parties going on. I'd actually been to a Christmas party about 3 or 4 days before my mother died, um, and I was talking to my sponsor who said, I said, look, I'm worried that if I go to this party, I'll drink because every time I've gone to this party before, I've absolutely got on it, you know, totally got on it, and because of habit and stuff like that, I'm just not 100% sure if I can go to it. I don't know if it's wise to go to it. And, you know, he simply said, you know, it's entirely your call whether you go or not. But if you do go and you feel the urge to drink, then you have to remember that there is nothing more important at this stage than your sobriety. There's nothing more important because without sobriety, you're going to die, right? And so what I did, I ended up going to this Christmas party with a couple of fellas from work who really looked after me all night. And you know, when I say looked after, I mean they were by my side, just, you know, not making sure I didn't have a drink, but keeping me occupied, sort of thing. Does that make sense? Um, Real staunch couple of fellas, Andy and Ray. Um, and I'll be forever grateful for them to them for that. Um, yeah, they kept me really busy, but I did go home early. I did because I could feel it. I just wanted to drink. All I wanted to do was drink. Um, Now, looking back, if I did it again, if I was to give anyone advice, I would say, you know, simply avoid anything that relates to your old life, whether it's parties, pubs, barbecues, days out, anything that involves alcohol. In the early stages, you've just got to avoid it. That's my opinion. Again, as always, it's only my opinion because step one is admitting that we were powerless over alcohol. Step one of the 12-step program. We admitted that we were powerless over alcohol. Now, how can you say that on the one hand and go into places where you know there's alcohol and try and control it? You're going to try and control your urge to drink. You're going to try and control your ability to do what you've never been able to do. You've never been able to not drink because you're an alcoholic. So you're effectively saying, I'm powerless over alcohol, but at the same time, I'm in control. Well, you're not. It's the truth of the matter is you're not. So my advice, and like I say, if I was to do it again, is I would have avoided that party because I was trying to test myself. And I think alcoholics do that a lot. Certainly when they get into the early stages of recovery, they want to try and push the, what's the expression, push the envelope. They want to test it and see if they can, see if they're strong enough. But the reason they're doing that is, once again, it's that insidious nature of alcoholism that it's almost goading you. By you trying to test yourself, that's your alcoholism trying to goad you into a situation whereby it will be stronger than you. It knows it's stronger than you. It's always been stronger than you. That's why you've never been able to stop. That's why you are where you are. So I sort of, after my mother passed away, I kind of made a decision somewhere along the line. I don't exactly know where it was, but I made a decision to literally avoid all places that had alcohol. So pubs, parties, days out of friends. I just had to. I had to because I couldn't risk it. I wasn't strong enough. I don't think anybody is strong enough. And I had all that determination as well. I had all that kind of, real desire to stop. But, I wasn't going to chance it. I just wasn't going to chance it because, ultimately, there's an expression at AA. It sort of goes, I might have another drink in me, but I may not have another recovery. And if you can get onto a recovery and you can get to any length of time with a recovery, do you really want to risk it for the sake of what, being sociable? I kind of lived like a hermit for the first couple of years, and you find other things to do, which is kind of weird as well, because for 25 years my social life was literally the pub. It was the pub, indoors drinking, parties drinking, pub drinking, club drinking, street drinking. It's just drinking anywhere and everywhere. So you've got to find new stuff to do. And by resisting the urge to go to those places in those early couple of years, I learnt to do stuff, I started travelling and went to quite a few countries in Europe, had a great time there. It's funny, I can't actually think what else I did. Maybe I didn't do that much at all. I was quite focused. I know I was focused on new things. I mean, my relationship with the girl that I was with at the time, it ended about 9 months after my mother died, and then I bought a flat. I moved into the flat, and then I met a girl that that I would end up going on to marry. So that first couple of years was filled with things like that. But yeah, I just avoided it, and I think if you're serious, and I'm sure you are, but I think if you really really want this the way I wanted it at the time, um, you've really got to think to yourself, you know, you've got to sort of frame it within your own mind that you are not in control of alcohol. Alcohol is in control of you, and therefore, putting yourself in any position where there's going to be alcohol is a test that you might win it once or twice. You know, you might go to a party and get away with it. You might go to a pub and get away with it, but sooner or later, you're going to take a drink. I can almost guarantee it. Maybe not forever. I'm not saying it's got to be like that forever, but in the early year, 2 years, you've really got to be on guard, and you've got to be learning as much as you can about alcoholism, which you will learn from the meetings and from listening to people and from reading the big book and stuff like that. But it's doable. You know, like I say, I don't want to make it all sound like doom and gloom and like there's no life after the pub and after booze, because there's a whole new life, and it's a better life. I swear to you, it's a better life. I swear to you, it is a better life. It's got its trials and tribulations, but so did the last one. I just think you're better place to cope with it sober than you were drunk. So, nobody gets a life without problems, but your problems are 100% less. Can't think of the way to express it. They're 100% more easy to deal with, I guess. I mean, that's the easy way to say it. It's just easier to deal with because you're straight. You're not drunk. You're not skint. You're not hungry. You're not hungover. You're not anxious. You're not full of jitters and tremors and being sick and having diarrhea and and not able to get out of bed and hiding and not paying bills and all that kind of stuff. It's not like that. All of a sudden, it's like, yeah, face it full on. And God, it's just a different life. I promise you, it's a different life. And like I've said before, this is the reason I'm doing this channel. Is simply because I'm almost, and I have to be honest. For 15 years, I've just done my own thing. It was all about me getting sober. I got sober. I did it. I've lived my life. And just since I decided to start doing the channel, it's now becoming really important to me that, if I can just help somebody, and I don't want to come across like, like I'm some kind of saviour. I'm not. But I don't know. I suppose as you get older, you know, I'm 54 now, and as you get older, you sort of change, and what matters changes, and the thought of being able to help someone, the thought of me saying something that gives somebody the push they need to put down the drink for the last time and change their life for good. I mean, even if I do that for just one person, I've done something, you know, and that's why I'm here, waffling away, um, talking rubbish to probably nobody, but well, not talking rubbish, but you know, I do have a tendency to waffle. Um, so yeah, look, early stages, stay away from people and places that were part of that old life. If you can, you know, and I think you can, but my advice would be to stay away because it's you're putting yourself under pressure that you don't need in those early days by going to those places and seeing those people, and you know you got to decide what's most important. Um, yeah, I guess I guess that's it. Hopefully, I'll speak to you again.